I threw his worn-out bag on the floor and told him to leave. My voice was cold. My eyes empty. Go away, I said. You're not my son. Your mother is gone, and I have no reason to care for you anymore. He didn't cry, he didn't beg, he just looked down at his dusty shoes, picked up that old bag with a broken strap, and walked out of the door. Silence, no goodbye, no tears. That was the day I kicked out a 12-year-old boy from my house, and I didn't even feel sorry. My name is David, and 10 years later, the truth I found destroyed me. When my wife, Mary, died suddenly of a stroke, my world changed. She left me with her only child, a boy that wasn't mine. Mary was a strong woman. She raised that boy alone. Long before I met her, when I married her, everyone said, David, you're a good man. You married a woman with a child. Not many would. I smiled back then. But deep inside, I only admired her strength, not the child, never the child. I told myself I'd love him. I told myself he'd become my son, but love that doesn't come from the heart never lasts. I cared for him, yes, but only because I had to, because he was Mary's boy, not mine. When she was alive, her laughter filled the house, her food, her songs, her gentle touch, everything made our small Lagos home warm. But when she died, the house went cold, empty, and every time I looked at that boy, I saw her face. It made me angry. I started avoiding him, stopped talking to him. He would sit quietly in the living room, holding his school book, waiting for me to ask if he needed anything, but I never did. One evening, a month after the funeral, he came to me and said, Uncle David, do you want me to cook? That voice, so soft, so respectful, it made me remember Mary, and it burned something inside me. I looked at him and said, Go. I don't care if you live or die. He stood there for a few seconds, then he nodded, picked up his bag, and walked away under the rain. I didn't stop him. I didn't even ask where he would go. Pause. That night, I slept peacefully. No guilt, no regret, at least. That's what I told myself. The next morning, his room was empty, his slippers gone, his small notebook gone. Only one thing remained, a small drawing on the wall, a stick figure of a man, a woman, and a boy, holding hands under a big sun. At the bottom, in small handwriting, he had written, My family. I stood there for a long time. My chest felt tight, but I refused to let the feeling stay. I took the drawing down and burned it. Years passed. I sold the house, started a new life in Suralia. My business grew, phones, electronics. I became comfortable, peaceful. I even met someone new, a woman named Grace, beautiful, independent, kind, but I never let her too close. I told her I was done with children. Life seemed good. I had money, I had peace, but sometimes, when it rained, I would hear the sound of a child's footsteps running away from a house, and my heart would skip. I would tell myself, no, forget it. It was long ago. But the sound would not leave. One evening, I was closing my shop when a small boy passed by, selling oranges. He looked almost like Daniel did, that same calm face, that same quiet look in his eyes. For a moment, I froze, and when I called out, Hey, boy, he turned, and I saw it wasn't him, just a stranger. Still, I went home that night and couldn't sleep. 10 years. It had been 10 years since I threw him out. Sometimes I wondered where he was, if he survived, if he ever hated me. But those thoughts were like ghosts. They came, whispered, and left, until one sunny afternoon, something happened that changed it in. A young man walked into my shop. He was tall, slim, wore a white shirt and carried a calm, confident smile. He said softly, Good afternoon, sir. I want to fix my phone. I looked up, and for a second, my heart stopped. His eyes, they were Mary's eyes, gentle, kind. I stared, speechless. He smiled politely. Sir, are you okay? My mouth opened, but no words came out. He tilted his head and smiled again. Don't worry, sir. Take your time. I'm in no hurry. That voice, that calmness, it was him, it was Daniel, but he didn't seem to recognize me, or maybe he did, and just didn't care. When he left the phone for repair and walked out, I stood by the doorway watching him go, his white shirt glowing in the sun, his steps steady, his shoulders proud. For the first time in years, I felt something break inside me. That night, I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I kept hearing Mary's voice, David, promise me you'll take care of him. I had promised her that on her hospital bed, and then I broke it. I went to my drawer, searching for her old things. and that's when I found it, a small brown box. Inside, her scarf, her earrings, and one sealed letter. On the envelope was written in her handwriting, "For when I'm gone." My hands began to shake, my heart pounded. I sat down and opened it. The first line broke me. "David, if you're reading this, it means I'm no longer there to explain. But please, before you judge, know that I never lied. I only hid what I feared would destroy you." I swallowed hard and kept reading. "You've always wondered who Daniel's father was. You never asked me directly, but I saw it in your eyes every day. I wanted to tell you. I wanted to say the truth. But I was afraid." My eyes filled with tears, and then came the line that tore me apart. "David, Daniel is your son." I dropped the letter, my chest tightened, my breath broke. 10 years ago, I threw my own son out into the street. I sat there, frozen. That letter felt heavier than the word itself, Mary's handwriting. Her voice echoing through every word. "Daniel is your son, David. I found out the truth after we married, but you were already his father in every way. I was afraid the truth would break the peace we had. So I kept it. I'm sorry." My heart cracked open, my hands trembled, my breath came in short gasps. I whispered to the empty room, "Oh, Mary. Mary. What have I done?" Pause, tears rolled down my face, burning like fire. Images flashed, Daniel's quiet eyes. The day he asked if I wanted him to cook, the little drawing on the wall that said my family. I buried my face in my hands and wept, for hours, for days, because how do you forgive yourself for destroying your own child? The next morning, I didn't go to work. I couldn't. I sat by the window, watching the city wake up, people rushing to buses, children running to school, horns blaring, and in all that noise, I heard one question over and over: where is he now? Daniel, my son. I drove through the city, heart pounding, from Ikeja to Yoba, from Ojulegba to Suralere. I asked everyone, mechanics, shop owners, even street boys, "Do you know a young man named Daniel? Tall, slim, runs a repair shop maybe?" But no one knew. By nightfall, I parked by the lagoon and sat quietly, watching the water ripple. The city lights reflected like tiny stars. I took Mary's letter out again, reading her last line: "If one day he grows to become a good man, thank God for me." I whispered, "Oliwa, help me find him." A few weeks later, as I closed my shop one evening, a man in a delivery uniform walked in. He handed me an envelope. "Sir, someone asked me to drop this for you. Said you'll understand." I frowned. There was no name. When he left, I opened it slowly. Inside was a letter written, familiar handwriting. It said, "Dear Mr. David, you don't have to search anymore. I've always known where you are. I fixed your shop sign when it broke 2 years ago. I even came in last month with a broken phone, but you didn't recognize me. Don't worry. I'm fine. I just wanted you to know. I don't hate you. I forgave you a long time ago." I covered my mouth. The paper shook in my hands. At the bottom, a small line read, "If you ever want to talk, come to Home of Hope Foundation, Suralere." The next morning, I drove straight there. The sign outside said exactly that, Home of Hope Foundation. Children's laughter filled the air, a bright compound painted sky blue, with a mango tree in the corner. I stepped in, heart racing. Then I saw him. He was standing near a group of kids, tall, calm, wearing a simple gray shirt, helping a child tie his shoelace. The sunlight hit his face just right. And in that moment, I saw Mary smile again. It was him, Daniel. I took a step forward, my voice breaking. "Daniel." He turned slowly. Our eyes met. He froze for a second, then smiled softly. "Good afternoon, sir," he said, polite, calm, as if we were strangers. My lips trembled. I wanted to speak, but the words got stuck in my throat. Finally, I said, "Daniel, I read your letter." He nodded. "I thought you would." Silence. Children's laughter filled the background. The sound of a ball bouncing. I said, I didn't know, Daniel. I didn't know you were mine." He looked at me quietly, then smiled, that same soft, painful smile. "I know, sir." I stepped closer. My voice cracked. "Can you forgive me for everything?" He looked at the children around him, then back at me. His eyes were calm, but his voice carried years of buried pain. "I forgave you long ago," he said, "but I stopped needing you then." Those words cut deeper than any knife. I nodded slowly, tears filling my eyes. "I understand," I whispered. He smiled again. "Please, Don't cry, sir. You taught me something without knowing it. I frowned, confused. What's that? He said quietly, that sometimes, people don't need to love you for God to bless you. Because when love leaves, purpose stays. Then he turned back to the children, laughing, teaching, full of peace. I stood there for a long time, just watching him. The children ran around him, shouting, calling him Uncle Daniel, and for the first time, I realized. He didn't just survive, he became everything I wasn't: strong, kind, whole. When I finally spoke, my voice was low. I'm proud of you. He looked up briefly, smiled again, and said, thank you, sir. Then he walked away, into the sunlight, surrounded by laughter and hope. That evening, I sat across the street from the foundation, watching him through the fence. The street lights glowed softly, children's laughter echoed faintly in the night air. I reached into my pocket and pulled out Mary's letter, folded it gently, held it close to my heart, and for the first time in years, I prayed, not for forgiveness, but for peace, for him, for her, and for the man I used to be. I threw him out when I thought he wasn't my blood, but life showed me, blood doesn't make you a father. Love does, and when you fail to love, you lose twice. I lost my wife, I lost my son, and all I have left is a lesson. Cherish what you have, before life teaches you what it means to lose it. Sometimes, life gives us second chances, but not everyone gets to use them. If only he had waited one more moment, if only I had listened one more time, maybe love wouldn't have come too late. When I think of him now, I don't see the boy I pushed away, I see the man he could have been. If only I had loved him when he needed me most. Remember this, love is not about blood, it's about the heart that chooses to care. Don't let anger make you forget the people who once called you family. Because when they are gone, you realize the loudest sound in the world is regret. So forgive while you still can, hold your loved ones close, and let your heart speak before it's too late. Thank you for listening to Laugh Drop Story, where every story touches the heart and reminds us what it means to be human. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, so that our stories of love, loss, and hope can keep reaching hearts across the world.